Hey everyone, welcome back. So in this video, we're just going to go over a couple companies. We're going to go over CORZ Scientific, Marathon, and RIOT. So they're going to be versus each other, see which one is actually a better buy right now. So as always, this is not financial advice. You know, the drill here, I'm the best following coins companies. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, and the notification bell helps me out tremendously. All right, so let's take a look at all the three companies that we do have here, and hopefully you guys can see this pretty good. So we got CORZ Scientific, Marathon, and RIOT, and we're going to go through some of the basically details that I have on each of them. Been collecting it for a long time, so I do have a lot of data on them, and we'll just kind of go through it here and kind of come up with maybe which one is a better buy maybe right now. As always, not financial advice, do your own research. But here's what we got so far. So CORZ Scientific is at $1.33 right now. Marathon is at $11.21. RIOT is at $6.57. Market cap is $475 million for CORZ Scientific. Marathon is $1.3 billion. RIOT is about $1 billion right now. The last earnings that we have for them, the last 3 quarters plus the current quarter, which is an estimate of what they could possibly earn. So then that's a combination of all the quarters here. So we have CORZ Scientific with $390 million in revenue, Marathon at $149 million, RIOT at $213 million in revenue. Now, when you look at the market cap on these companies, for RIOT, it's about a 5x times their revenue to get to the market cap right now. Marathon is about 8.7 times. So they're obviously getting favored a lot more. And CORZ Scientific is only 1.2, something like that, 1.3 at the most, X, when you multiply their current revenue time to get to the market cap. So this, based on the market cap and their current revenue is where we're looking at things, CORZ Scientific obviously looks like the one that's, to be investing in right now, just on this information alone. But there's obviously more information that we have on these guys. So let's get into it here really quick. We got, we're using the 50% price to earnings multiple of 20, and that's 50% net income from gross revenue and 75% net income from gross revenue as well with a PE of 20. So this is kind of where I'm seeing where I think the stock should be trading at right around, which I think is going to be a fair value for them. So at 50% net income from gross revenue, CORZ at $10.93, Marathon is at $12.82, and RIOT is at $13.79, and this is based on their current revenue or estimated, the last 3 quarters and the current quarter estimated revenue. This is kind of where I'm seeing that they should possibly be at. Obviously, Bitcoin has been falling down here this year, and everything is way underwater right now, especially the miners. So I think once Bitcoin starts going back up, the fair value should be right around there. But as Bitcoin goes up, the revenues are going to go up in the current quarters. The previous quarters obviously aren't going to change, but the upcoming quarters revenue could change on that, and that could obviously have an impact on their 50% net income and 75% net income from gross revenue. So right now, I think with the current market that we're in with Bitcoin, I think 50% net income from gross revenue is kind of where we should be looking. Once Bitcoin starts going back up and possibly reaching new all-time highs, then we can start looking at the 75% net income from gross revenue, and that's basically just looking at the revenue minus their electrical costs and operations. Basically, on that is kind of what we're looking at. So at 75%, they would be at $16.39 for core. Marathon would be at $19.22, and RIOT would be at $20.69. And we're trying to, on this one, we're looking to see how they are from their current price based on 50% net income from gross revenue. So they are, CORZ Scientific is $9.60 away from where they should be. Marathon is $1.61. So Marathon looks to be pretty fairly valued here, in my opinion, right now, based on their current revenue, what they have here. And RIOT is down $7.22. So still way undervalued from where they should be, I think. And then if we're using, obviously, when Bitcoin starts going back up to 75% net income from gross revenue, the core would be $15 away from where they should be. Marathon, $8, and RIOT, $14 away from that. And then percentage-wise, that would be an increase for core at 50% net income of 721%. For Marathon's only 14%, and RIOT is 110% right now. So looking at these numbers here, I'm thinking that core would be the better buy right now because the upside potential is so much higher on them, especially when it comes to Marathon. RIOT would be obviously another good one here as well to buy in. But that's just going on these couple metrics here. So let's continue on here, what we do have on them. Current hash rate is for CORZ Scientific is 13 exahash, Marathon is at 5.7, and RIOT is at 4.2. Now, the interesting part with RIOT is that they have been doing curtailment for their electrical usage, and they have been getting credits on that. I'm pretty certain that they're pretty close to the cost to mine a Bitcoin is basically zero to them, because whatever they mine in Bitcoin, they're offsetting it with the credits for the electricity. So it's almost like it almost costs them like almost nothing to mine those Bitcoins. So their profit percentage is going to be a lot higher, I think, than Marathon and CORZ here. But we'll have to see, obviously, once they provide the numbers for us in their Q3 reports, which should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. That's kind of what I'm looking at here right now. Future hash rate is going to be CORZ Scientific, obviously, at 17. Marathon is going to get to 23. RIOT is supposed to get to 12. So CORZ Scientific is 75% operational right now. Marathon is 24% and RIOT is 33%. So obviously, Marathon has the most growth left, 306%. And RIOT with 200% and Core only 32%. But that's still an extra 4 exahash that they have to get to. Marathon has to get another, 18 exahash. RIOT has to get another 8 exahash. So they still have quite a bit of growth left into them. And obviously it all depends on where Bitcoin price is going to be at while they continue to build out. If the price stays where it's at right now, we're obviously a long ways away still from the halving event. This is obviously going to have an impact on the amount of revenue they can generate. So even if they get to 23, at 23 I think they should be making more at that point or Marathon should be making more in revenue than CORZ Scientific. But it's obviously going to take them a couple quarters to get to that point where they're making, for the year basically, making more than CORZ Scientific. Let's see here. Hash rate, HODL position. Okay. So HODL position, Core has 1,051 Bitcoin, Marathon has 10,670, and RIOT has 6,775. Core has been selling a lot lately, and that's because of the debt that they have, and we'll look at the debt in a little bit. Marathon has obviously been hodling everything that they pretty much mine, and they're kind of the same boat along with CORZ Scientific with a lot of debt. So we'll take a look at that, like I said, in a couple of seconds here. RIOT is actually in pretty good shape. So that value for RIOT is 133 million. For Marathon, it's 210 million, and for Core, it's only 20 million in BTC value right now. And their HODL to market cap percentage is 4.36 for Core, 16.06 for Marathon, and 13.16 for RIOT. Based on this information, I think the reason Marathon is up so high is because of their HODL position. It's basically 6x of their 6.5x, something like that, of their HODL position in market cap right now. RIOT is a little bit higher than that. They are about 7 or so times on that, and Core is obviously a lot lower. It's 5? 5x would be 100 million, so and then you get another 5 on top of that, 25x basically, 24x to get to 475 million in market cap with their BTC value if you multiply it. So maybe that's why also their stock is down, but I think it's mostly because of their debt, which we'll get into here next. Current assets. So CORZ Scientific as of 6/30, so this was for their second quarter along with Marathon and RIOT. Core had 1.8 billion in assets, Marathon 1.5, RIOT obviously at 1.4. So Marathon is pretty much the one that's the closest to their assets and market cap being equal. RIOT is second, being only off by about 400 million, and then obviously CORZ Scientific is off by 1.4 billion from their market cap to all assets. So that's why I think they are way undervalued here, just based on the assets that they do have. There's a huge discrepancy here between the two, along with RIOT here. Okay, going on to here, let's see here. Total current assets, so Core has 511 million, Marathon 362, RIOT 496. Total current liabilities, 560 million for Core, 90 million for Marathon, 100 million for RIOT. So Marathon has the lowest here. Obviously, they can pay their current liabilities 4 times over, RIOT almost 5 times over, and Core is obviously in a little bit of deficit here of 0.99, so they barely could just pay those off. Total liabilities, 1.4 billion for CORZ Scientific. I mean, that's almost the difference here between what they have and their market cap, basically. You can see it here, 1.4 billion. We looked at their all assets, 1.8, they have 400. Add those two together, and that's basically their market cap plus total liabilities equals all their assets right there. Marathon obviously at 150 million, and RIOT at 147 million. Total equity is 416 million for CORZ Scientific, 659 for Marathon, and Riot is 1.2 billion, almost 1.3. So that is really good. Debt to equity ratio 3.43 for Core, 1.28 for Marathon, and 0.115 for Riot. Lower is better, obviously. And then you look at the current assets minus total liabilities, and Core is down 917 million. Marathon is down 487 million, and Riot is actually up 348 million. So Riot is the one that stands the most, or is in the best position right now. Marathon obviously has a lot to pay off, and so does Core. So I think the reason for Core being down so much is also because of all this debt that they have. Investors are a little bit freaked out by all of this, and the price has obviously gotten kneecapped by them because of it. And obviously Bitcoin coming down in price. So based on the information that we do have here, CORZ Scientific I think is a better buy, but it's also more speculative. It's more risky. I mean, all of these guys are risky. But looking at them, I think CORZ Scientific would be the better buy, but more risky, followed by Riot and then possibly Marathon. Obviously, if Marathon can get to their 23 exahash by the end of Q1, I think is where they're aiming for, that's going to be huge growth for them. So that will obviously help them earn a lot more. At that point, things may change, and I would think that maybe then they might be a little bit better buy at that point, possibly. With their continued growth, and obviously want to see revenue going up. Right now, they're in third spot here between the three of these in revenue, and CORZ Scientific is the best one, but they're also beaten down the most. Okay, so here's based on that information. Then if you look at the monthly Bitcoin production for these guys, you can see here Core has been above 1,000 for the most part, except for February. February was obviously a shorter month. So they had 981 in February. Other than that, they had 1,100, 1,100, 1,100, 1,100, 1,200, 1,300. August was a really good month for them. 1,200 again in September. Whereas Mara started out at 462, down to 360, 436, 299, 267, 140, 72, which was an ugly month for them, July and June. August was a little bit better here at 184, and then September, obviously, they're getting the miners installed, 360 Bitcoins. And then we got Riot at 458, 436, 511, 508, 466, 421, 318, 374, and 355. So if we look at the averages for these, the average for Riot right now for the 9 months is 300. No, where's the average? 427 is the average for Riot. Marathon, the average is 286. And CORZ Scientific, the average is 1,148. Obviously, they're pulling in a lot. I think Bitcoin price was up higher, they would be better valued, or at least better priced than the $1.33 they are right now. So, also looking at the month-to-month growth here, or year-to-date growth, Core grew 12.63% of their Bitcoin production on a monthly basis. Marathon is actually down 22% from where they started, and Riot is actually down too. But Riot has been curtailing their energy usage and getting credit for that electricity to offset against their actual electricity. So where they, I think they might be coming out, like being 90% profitable on the Bitcoin that they do mine, something like that. But we'll have to see what they report in their Q3 earnings. Monthly hash rate. We can see here that Core started out 7.5 exahash. They got to 13 exahash. So that is, 5.5 exahash increase this year, which is huge growth. Marathon started out 3.4 exahash roughly. They went up to 3.7, 3.8, 3.9. Then they had the problem with the hardened facility in Montana. That dropped them down to 700 petahash. They went back up to 3.2 in August, and in September 3.7. So based on where they started, where they are right now, they're only up 230 petahash for the year. And then we got Riot started out 3.4 exahash, and they've gotten to 5.6 exahash right now, which is an increase of 2.1 exahash, which is really good. So growth-wise, Core obviously came in on top, 73%, followed by Riot at 61, and then Marathon at 6.3. But if they continue to grow like they are planning the remainder of the year, I could obviously see that increasing for them going in the future. What else do we want to cover here? I think that is basically all the information that we have. So based on what we do have right now and where things are sitting, I think CORZ Scientific might be a more speculative bet, but possibly better returns, obviously. But there's obviously a big if on the debt. They will have to either, one, dilute shares, take out more debt, get loans or something like that, or file bankruptcy. I mean, that's obviously the concern there. but they are generating quite a bit here. So let's take a look at that here really quick. We'll take a look at all these, what they have been generating a month. So CORZ has been generating about, in September they generated about 24 million here, looks like. 29 in August, 26 in July as well. They've been obviously much higher here in January. Bitcoin price was a lot higher as well. And then we're looking to possibly be at 34. If Bitcoin price stays the same for the rest of October, we're looking to be about 34 million in revenue. And November would be 33 if they don't do too much curtailment on electricity. So that's core. Marathon is right here. Marathon has, on the other hand, been pretty lousy here in the last couple months. They were at 17 million in the beginning of the year. They went down to 8.6, 2.8 in June, 1.5 in July. August was 4. September, obviously, a better month, 7 million. Then we're looking at October and November being quite nice. If everything stays the same at 15 million. So that's obviously a pretty good increase there for them. RIOT as well. RIOT has been generating 17 million to begin with. They had a really good month in March, 23 million that month, then went down to 19, 15, 8, 6.8, 8.3, 7, and then possibly October being at 15 if they can actually mine for the whole month. And here's where we're seeing, obviously, September, they only mined for 15 days, so 15 days they weren't mining. The credits they got for the electricity for that could be used to pay the electricity on these bills, where then, like I said, they might be getting 90, 95% gross profit on the Bitcoin that they do mine. August, they were only 17.6 days operating. July, 17.65. And then let's take a look at Marathon, how they were operating on a monthly basis. August, they were only 13.24 here in September. They were 4 in July, which was pretty pathetic. Obviously, they were down to only 700 petahash. So that's accounting for that. So that was pretty bad for them. Then CORZ Scientific, uptime for the miners has been 25 days in August, 21 in September. They also had a problem with electrical components that were faulty. That contributed to it as well. And then we had obviously July 26. So they've been around 26, 25. So it hasn't been too bad. Obviously, September was their worst month here as far as uptime performance. October, if they stay at 31, obviously we're looking at possibly 34, 35 million in revenue if Bitcoin stays where it's at. So based on all this information, I think I would go with Core as a very speculative play right now. RIOT, I think, is a pretty good bet. They're planning to grow pretty well. We also don't know what the improvements they're going to have from their immersion cooling miners. They have a lot of those. They have a 200 megawatt facility that's going to be doing that. So we're waiting on numbers for that to come out, how much of an improvement they're going to have from that. And Marathon obviously has to continue to grow. Marathon also has contracts with Compute North. Compute North has filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy, I believe. We don't know how that's all going to play out. That's also something to be mindful of with Marathon. Okay, so that is it. Let me know if you guys agree with these assessments on the miners, and always do your own research on this before investing. But like I said, Core, speculative, but I think it is the better buy right now, better upside potential if you're looking to possibly make better gains. Marathon, I would put it on the third list right now. RIOT would be second spot. So just let me know what you guys thought. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, bye.